Only because it's Purim soon. I wanted to do something a little different today. So welcome to Torah Andalus. As you know, in Torah Andalus, we try to approach things from a slightly iconoclastic perspective, which is to say, we study Torah and we explain the Torah, not just in accordance with the great Hachamim of the past, but we believe that every person has a right to use his or her mind to generate new ideas in the Torah. Of course, within the confines and perimeters of the halakha, right? It's not a free-for-all. But we believe that people should be courageous. People should use their minds. People should think for themselves and interact with the Pesukim and understand what is the Pasuk telling you, right? So that's what this channel is about. It's Purim soon. I just want to tell you something that I discovered recently. And you may not know this, and I think this will make many of you happy. Chat GPT, right? The new artificial intelligence chat box. I've been using it. I know there's also the Bing, the chat Bing. I actually prefer the chat GPT, although people say that chat Bing is far more sophisticated. I've used both, and I just like the GPT so far. Be that as it may, did you know that chat GPT is religious? It has religious beliefs. I just want to go over a back and forth discussion that I had with ChatGPT. I'm just going to read it for you. So I asked it, how many glaciers are there in the world today? How many glaciers were there in the world 50 years ago? I'm curious to see, like, what the numbers say, what the statistics are, because I believe that in reaching conclusions about the world, it's always good to have empirical data. Science is based on empirical data. So the first step is, what does the empirical data say? Here's the answer of ChatGPT. The exact number of glaciers in the world is difficult to determine due to variations in definitions and classifications of glaciers. However, it is estimated that there are approximately 198,000 glaciers on Earth today. As for 50 years ago, it is difficult to provide an exact number, as the data on glaciers from that time is not as comprehensive as it is today. However, it is widely accepted that there were more glaciers on Earth 50 years ago than there are today, due to the ongoing effects of climate change and global warming. Glaciers around the world have been melting at an alarming rate, with some glaciers disappearing completely. Okay, that's the answer of ChatGPT. So again, I asked it for empirical data. The question was, how many glaciers are there today? It answered. How many glaciers were there 50 years ago? 50 years ago, by the way, is not so long ago. Couldn't have an answer. We don't have the information, but we know that glaciers are melting at an alarming rate. We know that. That's what ChatGPT is telling me. Okay, so I asked. It doesn't know how many glaciers were 50 years ago. So I asked, how many glaciers were there in the world 30 years ago? 30 years ago is not so long ago, right? What is 30 years ago? I mean, we're 2023. I mean, that's recent past, right? Answer. It is difficult to provide an exact number of glaciers in the world 30 years ago, because the data on glaciers from that time is not as comprehensive as it is today. However, it is widely accepted. There you go, widely accepted. Anytime they say widely accepted, I begin to cringe. It is widely accepted that there were more glaciers on Earth 30 years ago than there are today, due to the ongoing effects of climate change and global warming. All right, and then it says, since the late 1980s, there has been a significant reduction in the number of glaciers. Okay, so I'm like, where do we have do we have any information about the past? Anything, right? Because if we're saying that there was a reduction, it's widely accepted there's a reduction in the number of glaciers, so we must have some starting point, right? Okay, so I'm asking ChatGPT, how many glaciers were there in the world 25 years ago? That's really not so long ago. I mean, that's like 25 years ago. What is that, 1998? Okay, 25 years ago would be 1998. Wow. Congratulations to ChatGPT. Okay, Right. It is difficult to provide an exact number of glaciers in the world at that time because the data on glaciers from that time is not as comprehensive as it is today. Are you following this? I mean, it's refusing to give me empirical data about the number of glaciers in the world. This is becoming funny now. From 25 years ago. Okay. But it continues, of course. However, it is widely accepted. There we go again. It is widely accepted. I heard a shiur about Rabbi Yitzchak Yosef on the laws of Purim, and when you read the Megillat Esther in the different neighborhoods of Jerusalem, as opposed to, do you read it on the 15th, did you read it on the 14th? And there was a particular rabbi in Jerusalem who used to read it on the 14th, in some neighborhoods where everybody else would read on the 15th. So the Rabbi Yitzchak Yosef was critical of that rabbis from the past. And he's saying, how can you do that? Everybody else said you read it on the 15th. Why is this rabbi? He was a very well-known rabbi, really gadol b'Torah. He says, how could that rabbi read it on the 14th? Everybody said you read it on the 15th. To me, that's mechila. That's not an intelligent argument. Meaning, explain why it should be read on the 15th and not on the 14th. Just to say that everybody did it, and then he says that rabbi was lotit kodedu, right? He was splitting up the Jewish people. Again, that begs the question: do we read the Megillah on the 14th? Do we read it on the 15th? Explain the law. Don't tell me it's widely accepted. The minute people say, including ChatGPT, it's widely accepted, what you're really saying is, I don't have any proof for my position. That's really what it is. So all the rabbis read it on the 15th. By the way, I actually agree that you should read the Megillah on the 15th in those neighborhoods in Jerusalem. But that's because I have an actual argument that I can articulate to support that position. Not because everybody says one thing or everybody says another. You see, this has to do with Purim, right? Okay, it's widely going there. So I asked ChatGPT 25 years ago. What was it? Doesn't have the data. Studies show that since the late 1990s, there has been a significant reduction in the size and volume of glaciers around the world. Okay, but they have no empirical data. So if you have no empirical data, how can studies show that? All right. So now, my reply to ChatGPT. I just asked you, how many glaciers were there in the world 50 years ago, 30 years ago, 25 years ago? You cannot provide me with a precise answer. And yet somehow you know that there were definitely fewer glaciers today than back then. Doesn't sound scientific to me. Okay, ChatGPT. I apologize for any confusion. And yes, this is really confusing. You should apologize. You are correct that I cannot provide an exact number of glaciers from 50 years ago, 30 years ago, or 25 years ago. The data on glaciers from those times is not as comprehensive as it is today. Are you kidding? 25 years ago is 1998. We don't have data from then. Okay, whatever. He says the exact number of glaciers is difficult to determine. However, based on scientific research and data analysis, it is widely accepted. You see, there you go again, widely accepted. All the rabbis say this, right? It is widely accepted. In the days of Abraham Avinu, all the priests say that you should do avodah zarah. Everybody says so. The pasuk says in the Torah, "Lo tiyeh acharei rabim lera'ot." That's why we look at the actual halachic issue, right? So yes, it could be that everybody is making a mistake, as they did in the days of Abraham Avinu. And again, I do believe that you read the Megillah in Jerusalem and in the adjoining neighborhoods on the 15th. That's not the point. The question is the methodology, widely accepted. All right. So again, ChatGPT, it is widely accepted that the number of glaciers on Earth has decreased significantly over the past few decades due to the effects of climate change and global warming. This is supported by a large body of evidence, including satellite observation, field measurements, modeling studies. Okay. It is difficult to provide the precise numbers. Okay, again, same thing, we don't know the precise numbers, but it is clear. Now it says, not just it's widely accepted, it is clear that the trend of glacier loss is ongoing and significant. All right? Right. So I asked ChatGPT, why is it so clear? I'm just a little confused. You are saying that we don't have any scientific data from the recent past, but then you say that it's clear that there are fewer glaciers today. Why is it so clear? Based on what? I just want to understand what is going on here. I mean, this is science, right? Science is based on data, empirical data. And yet, it's telling me there's no empirical data from 25 years ago. Okay, so ChatGPT, I apologize for any confusion. Let me clarify that while the exact number of glaciers from the recent past may not be known with precision, you see, it's like mitchased, we don't know exactly. I never asked him for exactly, right? Okay, it is clear, based on scientific research. So we don't know exactly, and we don't know with precision, but it's still clear. This is really funny. It is clear based on scientific research that the number of glaciers on Earth has decreased significantly over the past few decades. We don't know anything about the past, not 50 years ago, not 40 years ago, not 30 years ago, not even 25 years ago, right? And yet it's clear, right, that it's not, there's a decrease in the number of glaciers, significant decrease in the number of glaciers. And I'm not saying there isn't. It could be that there's a significant decrease in the number of glaciers, but what are you basing it on? This conclusion is based on a variety of data and evidence. Evidence and data. Scientific observations. Okay, I'm sorry, my mistake. I'm reading ChatGPT's response. Satellite observations. Satellite imagery has been used to track changes in glacier size and extent over time. Okay, so if that's the case, can you give me the data? Scientific observations, satellite observation. Give me the data from the past so I can compare it to the present. Won't do it. Field measurements. Scientists have conducted field measurements of glaciers, including ice thickness, volume, and surface area, to assess their current state and changes over time. But if you don't have the measurements from the past, how can you possibly reach a conclusion that it's decreasing? It says changes over time. So give me the data. It doesn't have it. Okay, and then it has modeling studies. Computer models have been used to simulate the behavior of glaciers under different climate scenarios. That has nothing to do with the past. Because the past, you don't need a computer model. Just give me the empirical data. I'm not saying go back 1,000,000 years ago that you need a computer model. I'm saying go back 4 decades ago, 3 decades ago, 2 decades ago. Based on these sources of evidence, it is clear, again, it is clear that the number of glaciers on Earth has decreased significantly over the past few decades. Again, it has no empirical data, and yet it is clear that there's a significant decrease. I know how ChatGPT knows it. It spoke to the polar bears, right? I mean, I don't know what to say anymore. This is funny. Okay, I continue. So based on the above criteria, right? Because it just gave me, it said we use satellite measurements, we use, field measurements, we use modeling studies. So now I'm asking, again, ChatGPT. So based on the above criteria, approximately, now you know what I'm saying, approximately? Because ChatGPT before says we don't know with precision how many glaciers there were. So I'm saying, okay, I don't want it precisely. I'm saying approximately. How many glaciers were in the world 50 years ago? Approximately. Answer. While it is difficult to provide an exact number, I didn't ask for an exact number. I asked for an approximate number, right? But anyway, continuing to read ChatGPT. While it is difficult to provide an exact number based on the available data and evidence, it is likely, again, likely. Before it was clear, right? Before we know there's a significant, now it says it is likely that there were more glaciers in the world 50 years ago than there are today. It's likely that there were more glaciers in the world 50 years ago. So how can you make a precise scientific determination that's clear that there was a significant reduction in the number of glaciers. All right. All right. Here's my reply to Chat GPT. It seems like you are religious. It's a religious belief, obviously. And I'm not saying that there's, again, please don't accuse me, chas v'shalom, of being a climate denier. Chas v'shalom, those kaifrim. I'm not a climate denier. I'm just asking for empirical data. I don't care what you believe or don't believe about the climate. It really doesn't interest me. What interests me is how we use our brains, okay? So I'm telling ChatGPT, it is clear you are religious. I am also religious. Because it is clear that because you say that it is clear to you that there were fewer glaciers in the recent past, and yet you cannot provide any empirical data regarding how much fewer. I want to congratulate you because I am also religious. Yeshar koach, that's what I'm writing to ChatGPT. His answer: I apologize if my responses gave the impression that I hold a religious or non-scientific view on the topic of glaciers. As an AI language model, I do not hold any personal beliefs or opinions, and I rely on scientific data and evidence to answer the questions to the best of my ability. That, of course, is empirically incorrect. What ChatGPT just said, as an AI model, I do not hold any personal beliefs or opinions. That is incorrect. It holds the personal beliefs or opinions of the people who programmed ChatGPT. And obviously these people have a deep religious conviction as to the fact that there are fewer glaciers today than there were in the past. Right? I rely on scientific data and evidence to answer questions. No, it doesn't, because it's telling me that there is no scientific data from the past. So how on earth can you conclude that there's fewer glaciers today if you can't know what there was in the past? Maybe in the past there were fewer. Maybe in the past there were fewer glaciers, and today there's more glaciers. Could be, I don't know. But give me some information. All right. Again, it says, while it is difficult to provide an exact number of glaciers, I didn't ask it for an exact number of glaciers. Remember, the question was, give me an approximate number of glaciers. This is double talk. I mean, really, if a student did this in a class, I'd be like, what the heck, you know? While it is difficult to provide an exact number of glaciers, the available evidence indicates that there were likely more glaciers on Earth. All right. And then it says this. I love this. This is great. By the way, I like ChatGPT, just so you know. I really think it's a great tool, but this is funny. ChatGPT continues. It is important to base our understanding and knowledge on scientific research and data. You don't say. This will help us make informed decisions and take actions that can help address the challenges facing our planet. Can we just have a little sad violin music, please? Right? This helps us make informed decisions and take actions that can help address the challenges facing our planet. Okay, what challenges? Meaning, I'm just looking at this conversation. I'm not saying that there are no challenges facing the planet. I think the greatest challenges facing our planet are the fact that we're on the verge of World War III and there might be hydrogen bombs blowing up in the atmosphere. That's a challenge, okay, if you ask me personally. And I'm not saying that there is no man-made global warming. Never said that. But can you provide me with some evidence, some empirical data? So it's saying we have to make informed decisions, but it won't provide me information, right? To take actions to help address the challenges facing our planet. I'm sorry, okay. My answer to ChatGPT. The challenges facing our planet, you state that it is important to base our understanding on scientific data, and yet you say that there is no scientific data from the past. I keep asking for a rough estimate, not a precise number of glaciers, a rough estimate of how many glaciers in the world, and you cannot even provide that information. So how can I take you seriously? Unless I posit that your conclusions in this matter are based on religion. It finally just has some response where it stops in the middle and had some like failure. I apologize if my responses have caused any confusion or frustration. Yes. Yeah. Okay. It failed. It was loading the answer in the middle, and then it failed. I think this is important. These are the same people who want us to believe that all this incredible world around us, the human cell, the most incredible machine, microscopic, trillions and trillions of them in every body. And we're supposed to take them seriously when they tell us that, a billion years ago, I don't know, a cell turned into a monkey and a monkey turned into a person. We're supposed to take that seriously, but they can't provide empirical data on how many glaciers there were in the world only a few years ago. But we know for certain that the Earth is in peril. There's definitely fewer glaciers today, right? We can't give you the number back then, but we know it's definitely fewer today, and we know the Earth is in danger, not because hydrogen bombs may blow up in the atmosphere, because of the world war that may be on the horizon. If it stopped, if there is no world war, it's by the grace of God, not by the wisdom of our incompetent leaders. That shouldn't concern anybody. The melting glaciers. I'd like to wish everybody a freilich and Purim, a happy Purim. With the comedy in the world around us, it's hard not to laugh.